Ah, Masha, summertime, the best time of the year.
It is the best time of the year. And what are your plans?
Lying on the beach, doing nothing, as always.
Lying on the beach. Sounds great, but doing nothing. Maybe you could do something for your brain.
Oh, I'd love to, but how?
You're lucky. The Thinking Out Loud podcast are running ToL Unplugged this summer.
Oh, that sounds cool. What is it?
Basically, it's a series of meetups for their fans. So, thinking out loud style conversations, but no stress because they're not being recorded.
Wow, that sounds cool. And you know what? We invite all of you to join us this summer at tolpodcast.com/summer. See you there.
See you there.
Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast, a show with meaningful conversations in English, but not about English. My name is Jędrek,
My name is Masha,
and we are two English teachers
who believe that everyone has something interesting to say. Everyone can contribute something to a meaningful conversation.
you mean even a plumber?
Even a plumber.
Ah, of
But
course,
what is it
of
like a
course.
plumber?
I,
I've met very interesting plumbers who had lots of stories. Well, I mean, they're definitely experts at, I don't know, at
plumbing.
what? Yeah, probably plumbing and this everything, sewage, whatever.
Yeah, but
But
yeah,
but as
it's
people, they also have something to say as just people.
yeah. I think we too often we label people like a plumber, or this or that,
Hmm.
and you are
Hmm.
supposed to be just locked in your very narrow area of expertise, whatever it is, right? So if you're a plumber, you can't talk about the meaning of life because who are you to be talking about it? But
But we believe that everyone has an opinion, and why not? Even if it's something serious and deep, or what is the word? As I don't know,
profound.
AI or climate change or whatever. We all have opinions. People in their kitchens, they meet and talk about stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's I try personally to avoid like politics, and stuff like that. I think that a lot of subjects have been politicized,
Hmm.
and that's why
Politics
we are
divide
not really,
people, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm not really touching this,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you said that we believe that everybody has an opinion. I think it's not a matter of belief because it's a fact. People do, but the thing is that it's really interesting and it hasn't been done, I think, on a large scale before us to ask
Pioneers.
ordinary, let's say, and no one is like, ordinary, everybody's special, but to ask people,
By ordinary, you mean
especially,
not experts. We
I
don't
mean, yeah,
invite
exactly. I mean,
experts on
yeah,
global warming and ask them what's
yeah. I
our
mean, first of
yes.
all, we don't have this kind of, power of attraction, that experts come to us and discuss,
Yes.
because, but at the same time, we ask, let's say, ordinary people. Once again, I'll use this concept. We ask them some quite serious questions, right? And we think together. And so far, well, it hasn't been boring at all. It's in fact, it's
So we
yeah.
ask people questions, but do we are those interviews?
No, I wouldn't call them interviews. That's a very important thing to notice that they are not interviews. But I think Basha was talking about this last time. That this difference between conversations and interviews. That the interviews they contain a lot of information, and
Yes.
usually you invite an expert or an author of a book, or actually both, and and then you want them to present their findings, right?
Yeah.
And that is basically, of course, a discourse charged with information, with facts, and so on. But we're running conversations, which means that we are building these, let's say, findings. We
find stuff.
We find stuff. Exactly. We find stuff in the ocean of our associations, of our, ideas. We explore them. And very often we make people go into certain areas of their minds that they haven't been to for a while. Like, we put people out of their, usual,
way of thinking.
In a way, but also their usual, let's say, range of subjects they talk about. And we ask them something that is, refreshing, something that is, oh, I never thought about it, and I think this is beautiful. This is the beauty of our conversations. The reason why why we are recording them, because they were so good, that we decided we can't record it, right? And I think it's been the case of our classes. So many great conversations that simply went, um, unrecorded, and no one has access to it. And I think they are worth recording because of the fantastic abilities of people to think, to associate, to create, these new neural connections on the spot here, with us.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
For this, we invite very special guests. All our guests are special. But before we move to this unbelievably unusual guest, is there something you want to say?
You mean like who are we and so on?
No, like where can people find us? And
sure. Of course, as you may know, our podcast has a quite new website. I say quite new because it's been
brand new.
Well, I don't know. But it's been online for a couple of weeks. So it's tolpodcast.com, where you can find all, I think, the relevant informations about us, meaning that you can listen to all of the episodes on your favorite platforms. There's a list of platforms where you can find us. You can also visit and subscribe to our new YouTube channel. All the links are, of course, on the website. And most
leave
importantly,
us a voicemail.
There's a voicemail, Masha. That's right. So we are waiting for your feedback or your comments of general nature. You can record up to 60 seconds and basically click the send button. We will play that on the show and refer to your comments. So that's it.
And if you appreciate what we do, you can buy us virtual coffee.
Exactly. There's also this virtual coffee machine where you where you can actually drop a coin and support our work, basically. Fine.
And if you've always wanted to be on the show but felt that it's too much stress, it's being recorded, then this summer you can join us ToL style, but without the pressure of being on the camera. We are running meetups.
Yeah, we're running meetups. Exactly. This is called ToL Unplugged. So Thinking Out Loud Unplugged, which means we are not recording it, but at the same time, I think it's going to be in the spirit of our conversations. Again, finding stuff in our heads, finding associations and different ideas, exploring them. This can definitely make you more creative, more relaxed in a way that sometimes concentration leads to relax. And I'm talking about this kind of concentration. You suddenly shift the focus, to something else, and you find certain, concentration that leads to peace and relax. I love
So
that.
if you want peace and relaxation, you should go to our
Exactly.
tolpodcast.com/summer and check out what we have to offer.
Exactly. So that's it as for the important information. Our today's guest is a special person whom we are not going to name in this introduction. We recorded the conversation before, and
but it's the
all I
last
can
person
say,
you would expect on a podcast.
the last person that you would expect, but I'm really, really glad that we had the chance to have him on the show. We are going to talk about really difficult matters, abstract stuff like destiny and fate, or different virtues, routines, rituals, and so on. And I think our guest is a perfect person to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly the person to talk about.
All right. So without further ado, we invite you to listen to our conversation with our special guest. Hi, Father.
Hello, Masha. Hello, Jędrek.
Hello.
I'm so happy that you are here, because it's quite extraordinary to have a father taking part in our podcast. It's the first father, Masha, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But maybe you should explain a little bit more, because you started, hi, father, and everybody will think that it's your actually father on the show.
No,
Yes.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think I'm too young to be his father.
Well,
Yeah,
people who
but,
listen, some people listen, they don't watch.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. And I forgot, because I thought that,
yes.
Okay, great.
Because normally
So,
the podcast, it's not on the video, I think.
Yeah, not only. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Father Mateusz is a Polish priest who, as far as I can tell, works or lives in France, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, but
I'm living in France since 2008.
All right.
And I'm serving as a priest since 2014.
All right, great. And I know that you are about to leave for the UK.
No, a little
right?
bit further. We'll go for a couple of months to Australia.
Oh, to Australia! Oh my goodness! I thought it's the UK. It's like, okay,
no.
fine.
I will revert to the English-speaking country.
All right. I assumed basically it's going to be the UK, but okay, fine. All right. So anyway, I'm really happy that you're here. I like talking to priests personally, because but there are many reasons, but I guess the principal one is their education. That is quite specific, because you are not only men of science, but you are men of spirit as well.
Yes, indeed.
And or in fact, primarily men of spirit. Sometimes I like the combination, in fact, of science and spirit. They are not exclusive, right?
Yes, but I would say, rather than, especially in the theology, it's some kind of the spirit that is organized. There are not two separate ways of thinking or talking about God. One is always connected with another one. That's why the best doctors of the church, the best theologians, are always the saints.
Yeah, they are men of science.
They combine the both.
Yes, and it's absolutely possible to do. All right, fine. So we have this idea here on the show that we are asking some people might say strange questions, right?
I thought you would go for stupid. Like,
no, I don't think you can't call them stupid, but they are specific, and I personally like to ask questions to put people out of their comfort zone and talk about things that are not connected. But having a father in front of me, I'd like to ask you, Father Mateusz, to what extent can we plan our life?
Oh, it's a very good question.
I know, but to what extent can we actually make a plan and then execute it, and to what extent things depend on you name it?
I think that at least 2 levels of the response. The very first response, it's according to the Catholic faith, you should still think that who knows, maybe we'll not be able to finish this podcast because the end of the world will come. That can happen. Yes, that can happen every time. Yes, sorry, but that's the truth also.
But you mean that there will be no announcement of it?
No, Jesus told that he will come as a theft, unannounced.
All right.
Yes, but this one part separated. The plans, in which extent we can do the plans, I think that despite this theological response, what should be said also is that the human being can plan the things, but also it is good that not to plan too much of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if you are about to choose the studies, it is normal that if you are studying, for example, the law, you will have to study for 5 years and then push your formation to become a lawyer or judge or something like that. But of course, we still can have those plans. But what I think is important, that we should not be overwhelmed by any changements or something that we did not, how to say, think about it before. I don't know how did you met your wife, but sometimes those kinds of events can happen. You meet somebody.
It was definitely not my plan.
Yes.
We met in high school. It's true, but it was an accident that actually we attended the same high school.
Or was it?
Sorry.
You never know. Was it an accident?
No.
What about you,
maybe
Masha?
it is.
The destiny.
Yeah. You see.
But I think that what Masha is telling is also, but in fact, God knows everything what we are about to do. That's another thing. So on the one part, we are planning our future, but on the other part, God's know already what we will do. So
what's the point in planning? Then,
the point is that we should not be so much stressed about our future, because in fact, I think that a lot of people have the problems, some issues with their mental health, their spiritual health, because they are thinking too much about their future. They're making too much plans, even for some important conversations. In general, it's better not to plan the conversation, what I will respond to this or this or this, because in fact, it's almost never are you wanted that the conversation is going about.
Yeah, it's true.
This is our motto,
So if you
never
even
plan.
cannot plan a discussion that we have with your boss the next week, maybe you should have a little bit step backward toward your own future. Okay, of course, I plan to do this, but I'm also able to accept any changements.
Yeah, that's I guess it's critical, to be able to face no matter what's coming, right?
Yes.
Because plans. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not a man who's planning a lot. I mean,
except your Saturday's marché.
Yeah, I mean, is it actually a plan? It's not even a plan, because it's just right now it's a routine, So.
But you plan what to buy or not?
No, I act, on the spur of the moment. So, when I see, for example, recently a lady appeared on our marché selling flowers, but it's just a seasonal thing, so I see flowers, okay, I'm buying flowers, and then and every time I see someone new, I want to try, I want to test, and so on. But of course I have also my my people, who
so you plan to go to visit them and to buy something.
Yeah, but this plan is so local, like it's like planning it's just like like doing the shopping list, right?
Yes.
I mean, so I guess you wouldn't agree with that. You definitely get more done, and your life kind of is maybe better if you plan things, you know. For example, your holiday will go much better if you carefully plan everything.
Yes, but you can
because I
carefully
plan
plan
everything. I'm a
but
control
sometimes
freak, you know.
you should. I can travel without family, children, so I'm much more free about it. But
Oh yeah, you are.
sometimes
Yeah,
the people who are going on the holidays with their children, they also have to take in consideration that who knows, maybe one of their children will be sick, or you would like
yeah.
to go otherwhere. So of course it's better to plan. And me too. I'm planning in the things when I'm going somewhere.
Mhm.
I will go to visit this, and this. But who knows? Maybe if I cannot, for example, because the church is closed, I will go see something else. It arrived. It happened to me a couple years ago. I didn't plan much. A short one-day trip to Pamplona. I was an almoner for the scouts campment, and so I go to Spain because we were quite close. It was in the Pays Basque, in Basque country, the southern France. But I didn't imagine and realize that in Pamplona they had this feast called the San Firmin feast. So everything was closed. Only the people clothed in white in the street. So I had to adapt my plans.
All right.
So plan, but be more flexible and
Yes, the
adapt.
flexibility. I think that the flexibility is the key for the mental health.
But I'm thinking that that you could actually design plan A, plan B,
Yeah.
plan C.
Yes.
Yeah, and this
Z.
way everything's planned, except you're just prepared for different scenarios, right?
Yes.
So what's better, to have the plan B, plan C, or basically let things happen?
I would say it depends on the importance of the thing you're planning.
Mm-hmm.
The more important is the thing, the better is to have a plan that is of the first choice, and then the other ones. For example, someone who is having his secondary school diploma, it's better for him seeing the results of his exams to plan. For example, first I will go to the medicine. If I cannot achieve it, I can go to for example, pharmacy or biology. So, or then I can have a better results the next year. Maybe I will be able to go to medicine. So, of course, that can help. Also, in order not to be depressed if your only plan is not going as you wanted.
That's difficult.
Yeah,
that's very difficult. Yeah.
You said that God knows
what you're about to do. That's what was
exactly.
said.
He even knows when I will die. He knows the exact moment in the circumstance.
Yeah, but what about so in this context, what about our agency? Do we have any agency? I mean, can we actually act or kind of get away from God's plan or not? Because knowing what you said, I could be just lying on my sofa and things will happen.
It would be also planned by God that you'll be lying on the sofa. It's a little bit like a parent who knows how his child behaves. And for example, the parents who are teaching to their children how to walk, they know at the very beginning that the children is not so easy to walk. So he let him walk. He can see that the child is about to fall down. The child doesn't understand it now, but for the parent, it's almost normal, almost
it's clear. Yeah.
That the child
this is the case
fall.
of my Bruno right now.
You see, so you know it, but it doesn't make that Bruno cannot go by himself or fall by himself, or maybe not.
Because I think I also know very often, my son who is 13, he likes experimenting, and he tells me, I'm going to do this and this and this. And I, I've lived, I know that it's not going to work, but I almost never tell him. I say, yeah, okay, go and try. But I know what's about to happen. So I'm like,
all right.
The only exception for God is that he has the absolute knowledge, because God doesn't change, he doesn't learn, he is still the same. He doesn't have the beginning, he doesn't have the end. And for us, it is impossible to think this idea because we are living in the time. So you have to perform what we are naming the abstraction, but even our abstraction will be temporal.
All right, that
So
is, you
that's,
know,
I feel like
all,
I feel like I'm watching Interstellar right now, you know.
oh,
yeah, it feels like
the
a
very
bit
end
like
of this
this.
movie, yeah.
yes.
Very
Yeah,
difficult to
I didn't
understand
watch
what's going on. Okay.
It's a great movie, by the way. One of the few Masha that I watched maybe twice, you know.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
at least something.
Um,
Nice.
I know. I think because there's one question on my mind that I wanted to ask you, like up front, but I think it's difficult. But you already mentioned Destiny, and I would like to ask you, what is the difference between Destiny and Fate?
Oh,
I mean, I hope you understand these concepts. I mean, Destiny is the Polish przeznaczenie,
yes.
and Fate loss. Because it's
Destiny
like, you know,
in this, if we
Fate is blind, right? It's like it's.
But if we are making this distinction, which is our ones, the Destiny is what was designed for us, what somebody
but designed
intelligent.
for us, or what we sort of
We also can
carve.
build our own destiny. We can also, if I am able to study the medicine, but I'm lazy and I don't want to read a lot of books, I can forge my own destiny. So this vision of the future, and it will be the worse one than the other one. But on the other hand, the fate is something that we cannot influence. For example, you're going to the mall, and you cannot calculate, you cannot imagine that, for example, there will be some architectural problems in the building and it will collapse on you.
Yeah, exactly. That's fate. That's blind fate.
I would say that the fate, it doesn't have this kind of intellectual intention of doing it. Of course, we are able to think about it. That's the destiny. The architect, normally, he should count how many people can be in the building and other qualities of the materials. But there are also some things that are depending on, I would say, of the matter that is not controllable by us or by the animals. So
as such, fate is inescapable. I mean, you can't escape your fate, or can you?
You can, I would say that you can act in the way in which there will be less possibilities to the fate to occur than in the other ones.
If you could illustrate this, like, give us
yes, for example, the fate is when precisely I'm going to San Firmin in Pamplona, and normally if I'm not going to the streets when they're releasing the bulls, normally I should not be harmed by the bull.
Sure.
But if I'm participating in this running with the bulls, the fate is almost inevitable. That I will.
You are tempting. Yeah, you are tempting the fate.
Yes, it's almost that I'm forging my destiny that will also be my fate at the same time.
It's interesting, So, but fate is actually fate about the bad things, like, death, the roof collapsing, or bulls hitting you, or is fate also about the good things that happen? Like, for example, I know winning on the stock market. Like, you didn't
the stock
sell.
market normally you can have some intellectual provisions of that, especially if you are having some internal information that you're not allowed to.
Yeah, but I mean,
for example, the better example is, for example, the lottery.
Lottery, yeah.
But
would that be fate, actually, if you win?
Yes, I would say it would be a fate because it's irrational. The machine is operating in a completely irrational way.
And if you
So
play
you
with a
cannot plan your
system,
future. You cannot say that I'll build my house because I don't know, this Saturday I will win this amount of money. That's the fate. If you win, it's better for you.
but what if you? But if you play with a system, you know, because I know that there are people who have some system, you know, they use the probability theory and so on. And if you actually win the lottery this way, is it like destiny?
No,
Because it
because
was
normally the system is only that you are matching more numbers that normally you're allowed. But it means that you, instead of writing dozens and dozens of papers, you're just writing on the one of them. So you're making your work easier. But in fact, you're paying the same thing, if not more, for that.
All right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay.
But you cannot calculate how the machine will decide what numbers are going out.
I wanted to ask you about.
It's very difficult
Sorry.
for me to call it fate, you know, winning a lottery. Fate has some, like we hear, I've personally heard many stories of, you know, people who escaped, who ran away from war, for example, into another city in Ukraine or into a different country, and eventually they died, you know. For example, a terrible story, a woman, she escaped to Poland, and she was, you know, living there, and she died of a stupid accident because she forgot to turn off her gas stove or something like this, like really, really. And and many stories like this, and not of because of gas, but for other reasons. But and then you think it must be something like fate, because these people escaped. For example, they left cities that were heavily shelled, you know, and they finally escaped and they had the chance. But it's like, you know, what we say is the fate found you. You cannot
Yeah, and they were run
escape
over
your
but
by
concerning
a
this
truck with
story
cabbage,
that you
right?
told about the gas, it also points out, sorry if I use this context, which is very sad, that our nature is weak one, that we are not the perfect people, so we cannot think about all the things that we should think about. That's also the problem. It's in this precisely in these moments in which we are not acting fully as a human being because we are tired, because we are exhausted by the very bad experiences, that our capacities, because they are not used 100%, they make also that those small things can introduce themselves in the completely irrational way. They can decide about our future. It is
yeah,
also
but if you
sometimes the
put
fate,
these,
but the fate is also to make us understand that we are not the superheroes and we cannot control everything.
well,
And on the
not
other,
even we are not superheroes. When I hear stories like this, it makes, you know, you feel absolutely like Jendrik said, absolutely no agency. You are just a pawn on this chessboard, you know, and you can run and run and run, but it will find you, something like this. And then, of course, and there is another extreme when people say, like many people I know who never ever ever go to, let's say, shelters, because they say, you know, if you were destined to what is the saying, if you were destined to drown, you will never die of something else, you know.
Yeah.
Roughly translating this.
I had the same during COVID, you know, because I know many people were protecting themselves, isolating themselves, and I was like, okay, I'm going wherever I have to go, you know. If I catch it, I catch it, you know, because I'm not going to
we cannot
I'm not going
prevent
to be
this.
I can't be hiding forever, you know, from this.
But on the other hand, but it also depends on the beliefs, so I cannot impose it. I believe it, and I think that I experience it. Sometimes also the fate is constructed, but by the guardian angel, that sometimes make you think about things. I think that in some cases the guardian angel woke me up when I had to go and do something. For example, when I went back exhausted from travel in Poland on train. I was sleeping in the train, which doesn't happen normally. and I woke up at the station in which I had to go out. So
So
if
you're
I
saying
use,
that these creatures are interfering with the gods' plans?
no, they're helping the realization of the God's plans, because it was the God who gave them to us, the guardian angels.
Okay, it's like a older brother.
Much more like some precisely some counselor, someone who gives you the advices much more.
Oh, counselor.
In
Okay.
the first place, yes, much more in
I,
this
I,
sense.
I just would like to ask or clarify one thing. So, destiny and fate, they are two different things, and it's not like either you have destiny because you are an actor and you act and you make choices and the good choices, or if you don't do anything and you lie on your sofa and then you only have fate, blind fate that happens to you. But if you are an actor and you make choices, then you kind of escape this blind fate and you forge destiny. Or it's not.
It's partially true, because you can never escape everything. You can plan all your life precisely. I don't remember this kind of movie or some kind of completely weird perfectionist who was having his own fork, knife, and the stuff like that to go to the restaurant, but he was planning every detail of his life. But even in these circumstances, something can still make that your plans will not realize, and that's the fate.
Yeah, and I wonder, because it looks to me like courage is something that can help you forge your destiny, of course, but also escape this blind fate. But I don't know, because usually courageous people are rewarded, right? And you can even say that they are luckier, they have they are more lucky, in a way. I don't know actually if because we just remember those who survived, right? And those who were courageous but died. Well, we don't remember them.
But I would say that the very first reward for someone who is courageous is inside of him, that he knows after the courageous act that he acted as he was supposed to do, especially because the courage is exerted only in the big difficulties. So he knows that he managed to do something that maybe previously he was qualifying as unachievable, but he made a big efforts. He maybe even put against his own frightness,
Fears.
Yeah.
and he achieved. And the very first reward is that once you achieved it, you can feel it, that you manage it. That's the biggest one of the rewards.
So you mean, but you mean that courage is not a feature that we have. It's manifests itself exposed, like after you act.
We can, yes, because it's as all the virtues, you can use it or not. It's when you are exercising it in a frequent way, it will become easier, and you will achieve much more the things that is linked with this virtue. But if you are not using it, it will disappear. It's all like the exercises. It's like swimming. If you are swimming,
it's like muscles, it's like
yes.
muscles, right?
So
Because the
initially,
virtues,
everyone has these virtues.
he has the capacity to have them. You can develop them, because the virtues, normally every virtue is obtained by the repetition of the acts. For example, the virtue of the punctuality, normally at the beginning you have to watch much more often the watch, force yourself to go to stop doing what you are doing. But once you took this habit, you almost never look at your watch. You know instinctively how much this action will take. You can plan easier your things, and what is very important in the virtues, when you have it, it doesn't make you so tired physically or in
But then it stops being a virtue because it doesn't require any efforts from you.
No, no, the virtue is not the efforts. The virtue is when you're doing something good in a good way and in an easy way. That's the virtue. If, for example, a good surgeon, he has also this virtue of being a good surgeon, and he's 15 years he's working on. For him, it's completely normal to do the thing, but the result is good, and that's the virtue. And
but okay, if I take, let's say, a Superman who saves, I don't know, on an average day, 15 people, he's very courageous, yeah? And me, who manages once in my life, do something courageous. This feels like a virtue. And what he does on a regular basis is like, I don't know,
but the
job.
courage is to face the big difficulties. Sometimes it can be for a concrete person. It can be courageous to wake up at a planned hour and live normally its day. That can be very courageous for this person.
Yeah, but if he does it every day, then it's.
But there are some people that are unable to do it. So the courageous acts are also in the proportion to someone concrete. For example, it's not courageous for a general in the army that he is on the battlefield.
Yeah,
that's even his task. He's paid for that. He enrolled for that.
Like
for
a
he's not
Superman.
courageous. It's an obligation for him.
But for me to
he
go
still
on,
needs courage, I guess.
For you, it would be very courageous to go there to the battlefield.
So in my case,
it's
it's
unnecessary. But no, but this is super interesting what you are saying, Father, and it leads me to a question that I didn't plan, and I hate it because I don't know how I'm going to name the episode. But
unplanned questions.
Yeah, unplanned questions, exactly. I wanted to ask you about the little difference between routine and ritual. And is drinking morning coffee each day a routine or a ritual?
I would say that the difference is between not the fact that you are repeating the things, but between the importance you give to what you are doing and the way you celebrate it and the way that it is different from the same action made by other people's. For example, if you are your morning coffee, you are preparing in the eve a small napkin on your table, you're putting the porcelain
my cup. Special cup, yeah.
Yes. And in the morning you are preparing, you are counting every part of coffee that you're putting in. That's a ritual because you are not doing in the way that everybody is doing. You're consecrating some much more, and you are also doing it in the way that other people can see that this is something special. So this is special for you and for others, even if you're doing it in a completely same way every day. For example, for me, it's a routine to celebrate the Mass every day because what I am doing itself is a ritual. So a ritual and routine can go together. I would say that almost all the rituals are routine, but not the routines are the rituals.
Okay, so there's like a great deal of routine in every ritual. But how do I make? Oh, okay, no, you're right. I was thinking about like Christmas,
Yes.
How do I celebrate it differently than others if we basically go through, certain planned, let's say, stages, right? We have the Christmas Eve, Christmas, everybody gathers. Yes. And, I believe the majority of the people are doing this. And then, we basically do the same thing. So how do we differ? I mean, is the atmosphere or the dishes that we make or the way we feel? What's the difference?
Much more complex. Is also about your attitude to what you are doing, the attitude you're expecting of other people's. For example, you're saying them to your guests. That you hope that they will came with a tie, the women with the beautiful dresses, and after that you can see that this meal is not a meal as every day, or even not as during your parties, but you are really pointing there are some things that are completely different. For example, the
So that's
dish
a
that you are,
celebration, right?
the
turns this meal.
ritual requires that there should be something more or something different than in a normal way.
Oh, there
And
is
for
some
example, for
meaning
the
at
Christmas,
least to it. Yes.
No ritual, you can perform it by yourself. Your small morning coffee, but it should. If someone is looking from outside, that he can seeing also what all the people are doing, that you are acting in an habitual way, that you are consecrating much more attention. Everything is perfect. So the ritual underlines that you are not doing a common thing. For example, for Christmas Eve, there are some dishes that we are eating only once a year.
Yeah.
And for example,
Right.
for some children, it's also some kind of the souvenirs, the memories of the feast that can also understand that it is important.
Is there a risk that a Christmas is becoming a routine? Like,
I
we
think
take
that
out the Christmas tree, we
but
dress
I
it,
think that in the modern times it became some kind of routine, not only because we are forgetting whose birthday we are celebrating. That's the very first way to forget what to make a routine of Christmas. You can say you talk about everybody, but not about the person whose birthday, whose anniversary you're celebrating. That's completely stupid for me. But what is the worst is that as for all the feasts, all the celebrations of the year, you have the routine of shopping, consuming. So in fact, you are not changing a lot of things in your life. It becomes also such a normal thing that
but
now
I think it's also the affluence that basically we live in, and I mean it like last Easter I had this feeling, and I think I was already mentioning this on our podcast, but we sat on a Sunday morning, to the Easter breakfast, and I told my wife, looking at our table, like, we could have a breakfast like that each day. I mean, the cheese, and everything, and because we can afford it, it's not so difficult to. Of course, it's time consuming and so on, but in a way, we could have a very similar breakfast each day. So it's not like, it's really special because we were waiting for it, and I think the same happens to Christmas, right? I mean, we could have a feast like that. Okay, it's a bit different. Okay, we don't have meat on the table, but
Matthew, you don't have the gifts for Easter too.
But even the gifts, they are like the gifts. If I look at my kids, I mean, the gifts, they are like, I'm not saying it's an everyday thing, but they have a lot, and it's not like you have to wait for Christmas, because you wanted your Nintendo Switch,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's also because the times has changed. For example, the fact that for Easter we were eating meat. Of course, it was linked with all the fast period before Easter, but also with the fact that in the past the meat was very expensive.
Yeah, it was rare
when you were
to have
eating
it.
that, it was really something of the feast. So maybe on the other hand, I think that that's what we are pointing. We should invent our own ways to celebrate, maybe for the new rituals, new traditions. But in my opinion, in every case in which you want to introduce something new to underline the importance of this fact, you should make some kind of connection with the feast. For example, if I understood well, you're living in Provence.
Yes.
And in Provence, you have the small persons that they are putting in the crèche. How do you say crèche in English?
I think it's crèche, I think
Yes.
crèche. I think it exists. It's taken directly from French.
And I know a lot of families that are having this crash, and they're decorating them every year. But for example, they are trying every year to buy at least one more person, so they can expand the crash, or the other ones if they have children.
It's Masha, if you don't know, because these are little figurines, you know, people, they are usually on display, you know, for people. So they are, and it's a typical thing for Provence, you say.
But it's quite popular in the rest of France too. Not so much as in the south.
And there are like, you know, there are various themes, you know, some of them refer to the traditional Provençal life, but some
It's
of
like
them are
garden gnomes or something.
Yeah, it's like, exactly, it's like garden gnomes, you know,
but very small
something like that. Yeah, very small ones, you know, and they put these figurines, you know, and they build quite impressive, you know, setting, you know, for.
But I know the families in which, for example, during all the Advent, the children are in the competition. They're represented with a small sheep. Every child has its own sheep, and if a child behaved well the concrete day, its sheep will advance in order to be closer and closer to small Jesus. And at the end, normally one of the children is winning. So that's one of the new traditions that could be forged, and also inviting the children to behave well. So of course we can create the new rituals, especially if the old ones they lose a little bit of their sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to celebrate today, given that each day is basically a celebration, some kind of, you know, celebration with the affluence of food and potentially, you know, music and everything else, right? Because it's at our, you know, fingertips. You know, you can have it right now. And I think this is what makes actually the period of Lent, for example, quite extraordinary, right? That this is where you feel, well, it's really different, you know, because or Ramadan for the Muslim people, right? That is really different because, you know, it's very easy today to celebrate in the traditional way, like to eat a lot.
But I think that in Ramadan, normally they are having a feast almost every.
Yeah, you're right.
Night.
You're right, because they, I mean, but they celebrate the fact that they survived. Yeah,
fasting.
You're right. You're right. But you know, given that they can't eat and drink in certain cases throughout the hot summer day, for example, I think this is what you celebrate at the end, right?
But the problem with the celebration is that the commercial world, they're always trying to invent new feasts to introduce between the principal feast. For example, the land is perturbed by St. Valentine's Day.
Exactly.
Because it is a commerce now. And it's also on the people to act in the way to say, stop, no, I have my own catalog of the feasts and I do not expand it. Because otherwise it doesn't have no sense. I don't know what's the situation in Ukraine, but I realized that now in France, it's almost 15 years I'm living here, the people are celebrating more and more Halloween, which wasn't the case.
Oh yeah, Halloween is a big thing. Halloween is a big thing.
But it's also this will of the shops to sell, and also to the people to have something in order, maybe also that's something which is not good for our psychology. It's always to make us avoid thinking about the normality, the routine life, and the life that is not extraordinary, nothing happens, just the day as every day.
Sorry, what is the danger here of not living the ordinary life, but you know, living in a world of constant celebration?
The danger is that if it happens that you cannot celebrate because, for example, you don't have money, everything would collapse for you. And also, we cannot adapt, for example, to other situations if you are moving to another country. But it's also makes you avoid to think that there can be a simpler life. Because what is lacking for all of us is the simplicity. The life in the past was much more simple.
Yeah, sure.
Which made
sure.
So that the people were passing more time together than now.
But the life between celebrations, this is life, you know.
Yes, but
And
as they
people
want
are
to introduce
kind of
more,
avoiding it, you know, I think.
yes,
Just
but for example, let's take this Halloween and Christmas and Advent and Christmas. Finally, you have at least 1.5 of the month in which, in the permanent, constant way, we're thinking by this, by this, by this, by this. There are feasts, feasts, feasts. So you can feel also some kind of pressure.
And there are also,
Having-
sorry to interrupt, but there are also like local festivals, because if I look at the calendar here, I mean, each weekend there's a, you know, there's a festival of pumpkin, a festival of cheese, of wine, of, you know, whatever, whatever you name it, you know, and I get and monster trucks on top of that.
But in fact, those kind of celebrations often they replaced all the religious feasts of the communities. And in the past, as the people that didn't have the 3 days, the days in which they were not obligated to work were the religious feasts. And even in the medieval times, they had more free time in days than you have today, because they have the saint patron of the village, of the county, of the duchy. But it also was connected sometimes with the local celebrations. For example, here in Croutalan, in the past, there was a big feast for Saint Catherine, which is the saint patroness of the village. In the same time, they organized on the public place the sell, the people were selling the horses, so it was quite important even. But on the other way, it was an occasion for the people that were unmarried and a little bit advanced in age also to connect and maybe find something who was matching. So
today you have
was
Tinder
also...
for this.
Yeah, you have an app for that.
Yeah.
But because you can see that those kind of celebrations, they can die. There's nothing what's happening now for St. Catherine. But in the past, the people also had those kind of feasts. It just, as you told, much more original.
All right. Well, it's interesting, you know.
Looks
I
like
want
in
to
the
ask
past,
you,
these feasts, events, they existed for people to, you know, they had some kind of, they had a meaning. But basically people maybe to get together. But today it's a driver of the, you know, economy.
Yes, correct.
And if
it's a
we
consumption that
stop buying, then this world will collapse or what?
it kind of will. I mean, economically, it will, because everything's based around, you know, this GDP growing. You know, because if GDP slows down, it's a catastrophe. You know, everybody's panicking, right? All right, fine. I think we kind of we started with, you know, this planning and destiny and fate, and we went to discussing routines, rituals, and celebrations. There was one more thing I wanted to ask, but Masha, will you let me?
Unplanned, you know.
Unplanned.
Just
all right. No, this
go
is
with
no,
the flow.
this is some. All right, fine. So, Father, one last question, but it's like, you know, it's like round 3 or whatever we name it, right? Because we changed the subject a bit. Is there something like bad luck? And second, can a jinxed person, that is a person with bad luck, if that exists, be happy? What do you think?
It depends. How do you define the happiness? For a Christian, the true happiness can only be achieved in the heaven, because that's when you are united forever with God. So in fact, someone who doesn't have a lot of luck, he lives a miserable life, it depends in which thing or in whom he is placing his hopes, and you can always find someone who is quite poor, who maybe struggle to survive every day, but he can be really happier than some kind of billionaire, because, for example, he has a family that he loves, and that he is felt loved. So he didn't place his happiness, his personal happiness, in the matter, in the wealthness, but in something more than him, or more than this perishable world, and that makes him happy, even despite all those difficulties. While on the other hand, the billionaire, he's thinking how to have more and how to protect what he has, and finally he's not able to find something that can make him really happy, because he's always preoccupied by having more and more things or protecting what he's already having. So yes, you can have a true happiness even if you are a complete miserable man. There's I think that in France you could see a lot of pictures of Saint Roch. This saint, this pilgrim layman, or he was marching with a dog. It was someone who was happy. He didn't require a lot of things to live. He didn't have a house and maybe nothing to eat every day, but
yeah,
he
it's
was
I
happy.
guess it's also the story of Saint Francis, right? It's
Yes.
like but let's go back for a second to this concept of bad luck. Is there something like this, or because it also takes us back to this, you know, destiny and fate. Is there something like bad luck? There's people who were born under, I don't know what, you know, an unlucky star.
No, I wouldn't say that.
You wouldn't say that.
In a big part, the people who are thinking that they have the bad luck, because they're thinking so much about what bad happened to them, that they are not able to see what good happened to them too.
So it's just a matter of
And the
perspective.
people who are saying that they are happy, often they also have the difficulties, but they do not concentrate their lives on them. They
Well,
try
if
to
there's
move
no
forward.
bad luck, then there's no good luck, right? Bad news.
I would say it depends what's your attitude towards it.
So good luck is essentially being able to notice even small but good things that you have.
I would say yes.
But come on, what about all these lotteries? I mean, life is so random, you know, because
Yeah.
look, I was
It's
born
random
where
to
I was.
you. Don't
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah, but what about, you know, the people born behind the Iron Curtain, you know, and you know, it sort of predefines your life, you know, because your life could be so much different if you were born simply someplace else. I know it could be much worse, could be much, much, much better, right?
But in which
Because
sense
you're
it could be better? That's also the question.
Yeah. All right.
Because
I mean,
as you can see, I think that we have still these memories of Poland of the 90s. The atmosphere between the people was, I think, better. The connections to society were better than now, when Poland is much more richer. So
yeah, you're right.
we obtained something, but at the cost of another thing. Because we always think that living in poor conditions enables you to develop other kind of richnesses, especially the moral richnesses.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, we're just people. I mean, how much can you suffer? Like, you know, I remember, you know, my parents struggling to buy me a new pair of shoes. Like, come on. It's like, you know, I know, and I know, of course, that, you know, um, um, I never really experienced poverty, you know, but still, it's like, you know, if you know that few meters or kilometers this direction, you know, life, the same life, having the same profession, the same education, the same thing, I mean, it's so much easier, right? That's why, you know, that's why I think
But
and I
good luck
know
is
that
not only about money. It's about meeting the
Yes.
right
but
person at the right time.
yeah,
You know?
Masha, but yeah, you're right, but still, you know, I mean, it's, of course, it's not about money, but
But
Not
we
only.
should not forget that I think this we are still having these reflections, seeing just one individual, not seeing that he lives in a society. And sometimes it's the society or one person in the society who decides for other people. And it can happen also in other countries. And we can
Yeah, that is so that is so tricky, and
So you can and everything, especially I think that those last 3 years, so that everything can change almost instantly now in this world. And the more material means you have, the easier you can implement what you want. Especially in the countries where the people, they don't have the custom of having the liquid money.
Oh yeah,
the authorities can just press a
yeah,
button on the
what,
computer and goodbye, you can't buy anything.
yeah. I mean, this vision is horrible, and we saw it good few years ago on Cyprus.
So maybe on
few years
the
ago
other
in,
hand,
in,
the
in
people
Canada, yeah.
who are living in the poor countries, they will maintain their liberties, while the people living in the opulence in the rich countries, they will be the slaves.
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah,
And
this is
and
interesting.
who will be lucky in this situation?
So
right.
there is
You're
such
right.
thing as luck.
According, I'm using your vocabulary.
We just not okay.
I'm using your vocabulary.
All right, Father, thank you so much for this incredibly interesting conversation. It wasn't well organized. I'm sorry for that, because it was up to me, Masha, right? Because you said that, you probably have,
nothing is up to you. That's my main takeaway today.
All right.
So Masha faced her fate today by accepting what you planned, or the destiny you planned for her.
Yeah, exactly. Masha, I hope you're happy, with that, what you got.
Depends how you define happiness.
No.
All right, great. Father, thank you so much for all your answers. They are an excellent food for thought. I think also you are linguistically going to be an inspiration for our listeners and for our students.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Masha,
have a good evening.
All right.
Yes,
Masha, it's over
evening.
to you.
Yeah, it's evening. So thank you, everyone. I wanted to say for being
but
with
Masha,
us on this
don't worry.
Saturday.
In France, normally, especially in the evening, if you are saying good evening, they will respond you good morning, good afternoon. But if you are saying good afternoon, they will say good evening.
Yeah.
Is
that true?
Yes.
That's the way it is. Yeah, that's the way it is.
You're saying bonjour, they will say you bonsoir. If you're saying bonsoir, they will say bonjour.
Okay, well, I was going to
you
say.
Never know. I mean, because it's like it's you never know, because I think that when I'm picking up my son from the creche, from the nursery, and it's like 4 p.m., I already say bonsoir. Because for them it's like the end of the day almost, because they are finishing their day. So what's in front of them is basically a peaceful evening at home. But normally it's it's still bright, and so you never know when to say bonsoir, when to say bonjour.
Okay,
that's that's a little bit.
But still, thank you everyone for being with us, for staying till the end, I hope. And this was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.